Hey, this is Bob from PyBites. Welcome to another YouTube video, and today is all about testing. So this is a follow-up video from our YouTube Infinite Scroll video the other day, and in this video I will check out the repo again and run the test from scratch, and we're going to look at makefiles, unit versus functional testing, and cassettes or VCR. Enjoy! Right, so to kick this off, let's actually check out the repo into a new directory, so we can really work. So we confirm that it works in isolation. I cd into it, and let's deactivate a virtual environment I had running, make a new one, and instead of using my alias, let's actually look at the makefile I shipped with this code. And the Makefile basically makes it very easy to run commands against a repo. So I got install, which will make a virtual environment, enable it, and pip install the dev requirements, which are linked to the regular requirements. I have a DB setup to populate the local database with the YouTube videos from the channel we saw last time. I have run that will start the Uvicorn server to run the Fast API app. I got lint, typing, test, and I even split testing out in unit and functional, which we will see in a bit. And I got coverage and CI. So I can do a make setup, a make install, and that will create the virtual environment, enable it, and install the requirements. Note that this doesn't let the virtual environment enabled, so I still need to do that again. There's an alias. And now let's bring in the environment variables. So I committed an env.example. I copied that to a .env, and I will link an article below how to manage environment variables in Python, which you can do with python.env. Now this is currently empty and it has a sensitive YouTube API key, so I'm just going to bring in one that I already have prepared. And that's done. Now looking at the README, after the setup and getting your API key, I can run make db setup, and that will run this command. So it will activate the virtual environment and then run the db module in the YouTube package, and that will import all the videos from a specified YouTube channel in the .env file. And I set this to the PyCon YouTube channel. Again, makefiles for the win. Typing aliases is much faster. Now this works on my Mac. On Windows this might not work, but there must be a workaround for that, an alternative. Okay, that created pycon.sqlite3, so I can open that with my DB browser app. And at this point all the videos are in the YouTube table. Well, not the videos, their metadata, right? The video ID, the title, the description, the thumbnail, publish date, and that's about it. So I think now we're ready to run the test actually. So let's see what we have for tests. So I broke them down into unit tests and functional tests, and unit tests are fast. They don't really use the network or making API calls. They just test the routes, the fast API stuff, the database, but they don't go out to retrieve videos from the API. But I also made an end-to-end test, a functional test, test E2E, end-to-end. And that actually uses Selenium to open a browser, go to localhost 8000, which means that the Fast API app needs to be running, so Uvicorn needs to be running. So I raise a runtime error if it doesn't. And Then I wrote some code to have Selenium scroll through that page, because this is an infinite scroll, so that's kind of cool. We'll see that in action in a bit. And then when it gets to the end, it compares the number of rows on the page with the number of rows in the database. So this is regular SQL model code, and this is what the driver finds on the page, and that should match. So let's actually run the unit test first. So I have a couple of aliases as I showed before. So test runs all, unit runs unit, and functional runs functional. So I can do make unit, and then with the -k switch of pytest, it selects only the unit test, right? And I can run functionals with the functional flag, and that errors out because I don't have fast API running. So let's do that now. Again, I have a convenient alias for that, which is run. So I can run make run, and then it will activate the virtual environment and run the uvcorn command pointing to the fast API app. So let's do that now. Of course, I need to enable. Actually, that does the command does that, so I don't even have to do that. And now fast API is running, so I can run that test again. And now we see the Chrome driver, Selenium, opening a browser. Actually, what happened there was that Selenium had a bug that when I was running the test on my regular 2560 pixel resolution, it was all fine. But when I turned to 1280, which I use for YouTube recording, it failed. So I fixed it, which was a good occasion to also show the Hacktoberfest pull request flow in the last video. So let's now do that again with the fix applied. So that's fix Selenium test, and I showed in that video that was this commit. And instead of relying on a down key that could not potentially hit the end, I implemented a much more robust way by looking at the last element on the page. So let's run that again. It's also much faster now because I initially had a 0.25 sleep in there, which was not necessary anymore. Cool. So we have functional tests, unit tests, which we can run in isolation with some aliasing. Under the hood, they just use the -k flag of pytest. And the last thing I wanted to show in this video is the use of cassettes. So unit tests, again, we want those to be fast, not hitting the network. And for that, I used cassettes. So if we go to the unit test, and you cannot see this here because it relies on a fixture that's called videos. So let's actually go to conf test. Here I made a fixture called videos that uses the VCR plugin, and it caches the API responses, so calling the YouTube API, in a file called videos.yaml. And here, every time we reach out to the network, which only happened twice here apparently, we cache the result in a response body. So it only hit the network the first time when it generated this cassette file, and the subsequent calls, it uses this file, so it's not hitting the network anymore. It's a form of mocking. Usually you use it in a decorator on the test. The only thing, this was already a fixture, and using VCR here gave me a problem, so I had to use it with a context manager. Also, to not get a very long nested cassettes directory, I had to set the VCR cassette directory to empty, and I documented that here in the doc string. And the other thing, importantly, I had to filter out query parameters, because calling the YouTube API, it was putting my private API key in the URL. And if you go back to cassettes, that's now filtered out or replaced by a string called dummy. So that's cassettes. It's an easy way to use mocking for unit testing. One caveat is if the API changes, you might have to regenerate your cassettes. But once you have the cached response in the YAML file, your unit test will be super fast. I think that's it for this video. You can find the repo on PyBites open source, the org we have with more open source projects. I hope this is useful, helpful, and this definitely brings together some interesting things. You can look at YouTube API, SQL model, HTMX, testing, PyTest, VCR, and Selenium. And also notice the Hacktoberfest labels. If you have any improvements, things you want to contribute, make it better, then of course you're more than welcome to do so. Hey, it's Bob again. I hope you enjoyed this video. To not miss any future videos, hit the subscribe button below and you get notified when we launch new videos. Also, share the word. If this content is useful, tell your friends, your colleagues. We're trying to grow the channel and continue producing top-notch content. So in that regard, if there's anything specifically developer mindset career-wise, Python, comment below, let us know. We're happy to produce more content. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.